My parents said I'd never make it. You're wasting your time, they said. But what they didn't know was how far I was willing to go. I'm Penelope. I'm 28 years old, and for most of my life, I lived in a tiny, rundown house on the edge of the city, a place filled with peeling paint, creaky floors, and the weight of my parents' doubts. From the outside, it looked like any other quiet neighborhood. But inside our home, the air was thick with expectations I could never meet. My parents worked themselves to the bone, my dad clocking endless hours at the factory, my mom juggling 2 jobs all so we could just get by. They wanted one thing for me: safety, stability, a path without risks. But I had a fire inside that they couldn't understand. I wanted to be a designer, to create beauty out of chaos, to turn empty rooms into places full of life and soul. Every time I mentioned my dream, their faces tightened. Design? That's not a real career, my dad said once, voice low but firm. You need to grow up and get a real job. My mom's eyes always flickered with worry, like she was silently pleading for me to choose security over passion. Those words crushed me. But worse was the silence, the quiet disappointment that followed every conversation, like an invisible wall closing in. In school, I hid my sketches in notebooks, afraid to show anyone. I took classes that would make them proud, while my heart raced with stolen dreams. One night, after another fight about my future, I packed a bag and left. I needed to escape, to find a place where I could breathe, think, and fight for what I believed in. Living alone was a battle. The rent was sky high, the hours brutal, and every paycheck stretched thin. I worked waitressing shifts, freelance gigs, anything to keep the lights on. But I never stopped designing. I stayed up late, perfecting layouts, studying, networking, desperate to prove they were wrong. The hardest part? Every call home was a reminder I might have failed them and myself. Penelope, are you sure this is worth it? My mom's voice would tremble. I just want you to be safe. Those words cut deeper than any insult. But giving up? That wasn't me. Then, one afternoon, scrolling through listings, my breath caught. There it was, the house my parents had dreamed about for years. Their forever home. The one they'd said we'd never afford. Suddenly, everything changed. Because I knew what I had to do. I was going to buy that house. And when I did, it wouldn't just be a home. It would be proof. Proof that I could rise, that I could win. That was only the beginning of my story. Leaving home was supposed to be freedom. Instead, it felt like stepping into a war zone. Every morning, I woke up in my tiny apartment, cold walls, peeling paint, and the crushing weight of doubt pressing down on me. Money was a constant enemy. I counted every cent like it was a lifeline. Skipping meals, working late shifts, losing sleep, all just to keep the dream alive. But the real battle? It wasn't the bills or the exhaustion. It was the voice inside my head whispering, "You're not good enough." Some nights, that voice screamed. I'd stare into the mirror and barely recognize the tired woman looking back. Maybe they were right. Maybe I'm fooling myself. And yet, every time I teetered on the edge of giving up, I remembered their words. You'll never make it. Those words became a spark, not a chain. I attacked my work with savage determination. Every small win was a battle won, a client who believed, a design praised, a step forward. But the real shock came when I answered a call from my mother. Her voice cracked, but her words were clear. Penelope, are you sure this isn't a mistake? You're risking everything. That moment broke something inside me. I wanted to scream, to tell her she didn't understand, that this was my fight. Instead, I swallowed the anger and whispered, I'm not done. The silence that followed was deafening. Even my father, who once ruled the house with cold certainty, stopped answering my calls. And then, just when I thought the storm might finally calm, the ground shifted again. I got a call from a client I thought was a sure thing. They were backing out. Your designs are too risky. We can't afford to take that chance. That rejection felt like a punch to the gut, a brutal reminder that the world wasn't ready to believe in me. I sank to the floor, tears blurring the skyline outside my window. Was I doomed to fail? But deep inside, a voice roared back, louder than ever. Get up, fight harder. Because this wasn't just about a career. It was about proving to them and to myself that I could break free from every doubt, every insult, every door slammed in my face. I was ready to burn the old story down and write a new one in flames. And it all started with one impossible promise. I would buy their dream house, no matter the cost, no matter the pain, no matter the sacrifices. Because sometimes the greatest battles are fought not in boardrooms, but inside your own heart. The more I pushed forward chasing my dream, the louder the voices around me became. Not just whispers in the background, but sharp, biting accusations, judgment, and outright rejection. Family dinners turned from warm gatherings into cold, silent battleships loaded with emotional landmines. Every word felt like stepping on glass. "You're ruining your life," my father snarled one night, slamming his fist on the table. His eyes were wild with frustration, exhaustion, and something deeper fear. My mother sat beside him, her face a mask of pain. "Why won't you just listen? Why can't you be normal?" she asked softly, but the disappointment was loud and clear. That night, I felt like a stranger in my own family, an outcast condemned for daring to dream differently. But it wasn't just them. The world outside was no kinder. I heard the sideways glances at family gatherings, the hushed conversations at work, dripping with pity or scorn. Even old friends, the ones I trusted, began to drift away. Their messages grew shorter, their calls stopped. One message cut through me like a knife. "I can't watch you destroy yourself," it read, from someone I thought was my closest ally. Betrayal, isolation, loneliness. It wrapped around me like a cold fog, suffocating and relentless. One freezing night, I found myself standing outside the very house I'd called home, the house where those voices still echoed. The windows were dark, the porch light flickering, casting shadows that danced like ghosts of my past. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone and stared at it, the screen glowing cold in the night. I wanted to call someone, anyone, but the silence was louder than ever. In the midst of that suffocating silence, I stumbled on a secret, something no one had dared to tell me. It wasn't just my stubbornness or ambition that tore us apart. There were deeper wounds in the family, scars hidden beneath years of silence, shame, and unspoken regret. A truth so heavy it threatened to crush everything we'd ever known. That night, I cried tears I hadn't known were inside me, tears for lost time and broken trust. But when the tears dried, something inside me snapped. I made a vow. No matter what secrets they kept, no matter how dark the past, I would rise. I would fight. I would prove not just to them, but to myself that I was more than their doubts, more than their fears. That I was unstoppable. And as I stood there under the cold moonlight, I knew this battle was far from over. Because sometimes, the darkest family secrets ignite the fiercest fires within. After that night, the silence hit me like a wall. No calls, no texts, no signs of life from anyone I once trusted. It was like I'd vanished, erased from their worlds for choosing to chase a dream they said was foolish. But in that suffocating loneliness, something fierce ignited inside me. Not despair, not defeat. A wildfire of determination. If they won't believe in me, I'll believe in myself louder than ever. Days blurred into nights. I worked until my hands shook. Every sketch and blueprint a war zone where I fought for my future. There were moments I wanted to scream, raw frustration boiling over. Tears came unbidden on cold mornings, but I swallowed them down, grit taking their place. I wasn't just surviving, I was waging a relentless war against every doubt, every whispered insult, every closed door. "Penelope, this isn't a game," a mentor told me once, eyes sharp. "It's a battlefield. Fight smart, fight hard, fight to win." I took those words like a weapon. I hunted down every opportunity, late nights, networking, early mornings, studying, pushing myself beyond exhaustion. I made enemies along the way, yes, but I also found unexpected allies, strangers who saw my fire and fanned it into flames. One night, while hunched over a drafting table in a cramped studio, my phone buzzed. It was my mother. "Are you sure you're okay? This is hard," she typed, voice trembling even through text. For a moment, I hesitated. The pain of her doubt was fresh, sharper than any rejection. But then I typed back, my fingers steady. "I'm stronger than you think. I'm fighting for all of us." That message changed everything. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't acceptance. But it was a crack in the wall, a door left slightly open. The road ahead was still dark, still treacherous. I knew I'd face more nights filled with doubt, more battles no one saw. But I was ready. Because this wasn't just about a job or a paycheck. It was about proving that even in the face of loneliness, fear, and rejection, I could rise. I would rise. And then, the hardest truth hit me like a freight train. The dream house, the one my parents had longed for, the symbol of everything we wanted, was slipping away from them. Foreclosure notices, debts mounting, hope fading fast. I stared at that news like it was a punch to the gut. And in that moment, I made the most dangerous promise of all. I would buy that house. No matter what it cost me. No matter who tried to stop me. Because sometimes, the fiercest battles are fought not just for ourselves, but for those who never believed we could win. Just when I thought the storm was at its worst, life slammed me with a blow I never saw coming. The foreclosure notice wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a ticking time bomb ready to destroy everything my parents had fought for: their dream, their home, our family's last anchor. I couldn't stand by and watch it crumble. I gathered every penny I had, scraping, borrowing, begging anything to make this right. The nights I signed those papers, my hands trembled so badly I thought I might drop the pen. I barely understood the legal jargon, the numbers, the risks I was taking. But I knew one thing for sure. This was my moment. A moment to rise from the ashes of doubt and claim what was ours. When the day came to buy that house, my heart pounded like a drum in my chest. I called my parents, the words catching in my throat. "I bought it," I said simply. Silence. Then, my father's voice, low, raw, almost broken. I don't know what to say. My mother's tears came through the phone, trembling with disbelief and something I couldn't quite place: pride. "I'm sorry it took me so long to believe in you," she whispered. That moment shifted everything. I was no longer just their daughter, I was their savior. The power had shifted. But victory was bittersweet. Old wounds didn't heal overnight. The house held memories, some warm, many painful. Sometimes, late at night, I'd walk through the rooms and feel the ghosts of their doubts creeping in. There were moments when my parents looked at me not with pride, but with silent questions. Can she really carry this weight? The conversations were careful, tentative. Trust needed rebuilding, brick by brick, conversation by conversation. And I had to face the grudges too, the unspoken resentment that I'd defied their expectations. One evening, my father finally spoke the words I'd feared, but needed to hear. "I was scared you'd fail and take us down with you." I looked him in the eye and said, "I was scared too, but I couldn't let that fear win." That night, something unspoken passed between us, a fragile understanding. I realized that this journey wasn't just about buying a house. It was about rebuilding a family fractured by doubt, fear, and love wrapped in silence. Every corner I fixed, every room I painted, every step I took to make that house a home was a step toward healing. And in the end, I wasn't just building a dream house. I was building a legacy. One that proved no matter how deep the scars, how fierce the battle, with courage, grit, and relentless heart, you can rewrite your story. Just when I thought I had carved out a victory, the ground beneath me cracked wide open. The house was bought, the dream rekindled, but the battles were far from over. Trust, the most fragile currency of all, was about to be tested and broken. One cold morning, I received a call that shattered everything I'd built. My closest business partner, the one I'd trusted above all, had betrayed me. They leaked sensitive information, plans I'd guarded fiercely, to a rival hungry to destroy everything I was working for. It was like watching a slow-motion disaster unfold. Clients backed away. Investors hesitated. Rumors spread faster than wildfire. Every phone call was a dagger. Every glance a judgment. The walls I'd built to protect my dream began to crumble. But the cruelest blow came not from the outside, it came from silence. My parents, who'd once been so distant, now withdrew even further. My mother's voice, once filled with concern, turned cold. Click. My father's harsh words became even rarer, replaced by long stretches of silence. Friends, the few I thought were pillars, disappeared. Alone, truly alone, I faced the collapse of everything I'd fought for. One freezing night, sitting on the edge of my bed, the city lights casting cold shadows on the walls, I felt the crushing weight of failure press down like a physical force. I wanted to give up, to let the tide sweep me away, to surrender. But deep inside, a spark flared. A fierce refusal. I am not done. I wiped the tears, steadied my shaking hands, and whispered into the dark room, I will rise. That night marked a turning point. I vowed to rebuild smarter, fiercer, unstoppable. I hunted for new allies, mentors, who saw the fire beneath the ashes. I sharpened my strategy, cut loose the toxic, and doubled down on my vision. Because survival wasn't just about staying afloat. It was about soaring above the storm. And this time, I was ready to fly. The night I whispered, I will rise, I didn't know how hard the climb would be. Every step since then has been a battle, some days darker, some moments lighter, but never easy. I faced storms that threatened to drown me, betrayals, silence, doubt, but each time, I rose stronger. With new allies by my side and lessons etched deep into my soul, I rebuilt not just a business, but a life. I turned my vision into reality. The house I bought for my parents? It's more than bricks and mortar now. It's a symbol of survival, hope, and the unbreakable spirit of a girl who refused to quit. When they walk through those doors, I see pride in their eyes, a silent acknowledgement of the journey we endured. But my story isn't just about me. It's about every person who's ever been told they couldn't, shouldn't, wouldn't. It's for those who are standing in the shadows of doubt, fighting their own battles. If there's one thing I want you to remember, it's this. Your past does not define you. Your scars do not limit you. The power to rise, to rebuild, to reclaim, to rewrite your story lives inside you. And sometimes, the darkest nights lead to the brightest dawns. So, to everyone watching, hold tight to your dreams. Fight for them. Because your breakthrough is closer than you think. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. If my story moved you, inspired you, or gave you strength, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell me your story in the comments, your fight, your hope, your dreams. Together, we are unstoppable. Together, we rise. And this is only the beginning.